Please read along with me as I read Chapter 4. Chapter 4, Stuck on the Island. The sick were taken to Ellis Island Hospital. Opened in 1902, it was the most caring place on the island. Nurses went out of their way to comfort patients, especially scared children separated from their parents. Ladies in white, we used to call the nurses, said an immigrant. They were very nice. I mean, they talked to the children, and they stroked their hair, and they touched their cheek and held our hands. Treatment at the hospital was free of charge. Tens of thousands regained their health and then were able to enter America. Hundreds of babies were born there too, becoming instant citizens. Immigrants who had given wrong answers for the legal test were held for more questioning. They had to appear before a board of special inquiry made up of 3 men. It was like going to court. I was never so frightened in my life, said one immigrant. My whole future was in their hands, and I could hardly keep my arms and legs from shaking. And then there were women who had come to America alone. By law, they could not leave Ellis Island until a male relative or sponsor came for them. A sponsor promised to take care of a woman until she found a home and job. An interpreter named Frank Toki described the trouble that women face. Sometimes the man could not be located, he said. Perhaps he had died or moved, or the letters hadn't reached him. Who knows? If no one came, stranded females had to return to their homeland. There was no way of soothing these heartbroken women, said Martoki. At times, aid societies would come to the rescue and offered women places to stay and help finding jobs. Over 40 aid societies, such as the Salvation Army, Red Cross, and YWCA, had volunteers on Ellis Island. Some groups were even given office space. Such kindness accounted for why some detainees left Ellis Island with good memories. Free food was another reason. Immigrants were fed 3 meals a day in a dining room that seated 1,000 people. They had their first taste of American dishes such as sandwiches, corn on the cob, jello, and ice cream. They also enjoyed comforts like hot running water. A Greek immigrant recalled his first shower on Ellis Island with delight. The hot water was washing away sweat and dust and grime of the steerage. I washed away the old world. I washed away all the hatred and injustice and cruelty I had known. Even so, being detained could be deeply stressful. Overcrowding on the island was partly the reason. In 1907, the busiest year, nearly 1.25 million newcomers arrived at Ellis Island. On a single day that year, 9 ships unloaded 11,500 men, women, and children. At night, immigrants slept in large packed rooms that looked like giant wire cages. Men stayed in their own dorms, women and children in others. Bedding often ran short. One newcomer in 1913 recalled shivering all night without a blanket and listening to dreams in a dozen different languages. During the day, immigrants waited in large wire cells known as pens. Each was built to hold 600 people. Yet often more than 1,000 immigrants had to jam inside. They waited and waited. The staff suffered too, under a heavy workload. During the peak years of 1903 to 1914, Ellis Island employed between 500 and 800 workers, and it still wasn't enough. Besides inspectors and translators, there were baggage handlers, doctors, and nurses, railroad ticket agents, cooks, cleaning staff, clerks, and more. The laundry washed 3,000 sheets and towels a day, and the kitchen struggled to make meals for the different appetites. Many Italians did not like potatoes. Many Irish did not eat spaghetti. Jews could not eat foods that weren't kosher. In 1911, a kosher kitchen was put in. Inspector Fiorello LaGuardia recalled working 7 days a week. Immigrants were pouring in at an average rate of 5,000 a day, he said. Work was a constant grind from the monument we got into our uniforms early in the morning until the last minute before we left. As a result, tempers sometimes flared, and immigrants got the worst of it. But by far, the most heartbreaking turn of events for the immigrants was being forced to return to their homelands. Most had little or nothing to return to. They had sold everything they owned in order to reach America. Fortunately, Ellis Island deported only 2% of its immigrants. The rest were handed the grand prize, their landing cards. They had proved that they were clearly and beyond a doubt entitled to land. At last they were free to go ashore. Immigrant Louis Sage wrote of his exit from Ellis Island. I had my landing card in my pocket with my hand clutched around it. I never took my hand out of that pocket until the ferry that took us off the island landed in New York. Their journey to the United States was over. A new journey was now beginning. The Kissing Post. As they left Ellis Island, immigrants were often greeted by family members they hadn't seen for years. The spot where these reunions took place was fondly called the Kissing Post. An immigrant from Italy, Regina Regatta, recalled the moment that she and her brothers and sister saw their father. He came running and squatted on his knees with his arms outstretched, and the five of us ran into his arms. Her father said, "We're all together now. We'll never be apart again."